I think the invitation to talk about Jack Kerouac was very compelling because the fact that when Ebs asked me if I wanted to be in it, I was like, look, I'm not like some sort of like hardcore Jack Kerouac uh, academic. But he said that's the whole point is we're opening up to people to talk about Jack Kerouac who maybe you wouldn't expect to talk about Jack Kerouac, and just the idea of being on the road. So as I told Ebs, I certainly went through a Jack Kerouac phase in my 20s, like many men of a certain age and demographic do. And so I had things to say, but I was excited to be invited to a conversation to sit at a table where I'm not always you wouldn't always expect me to be. Is there a location? Well, so I live in the Bay Area, and I've lived in the Bay Area for almost 30 years, but lived about 11 years in San Francisco. I've hung out in those neighborhoods that the Beats hung out in. That bar, Vesuvio, is still there. City Lights bookstore's there. So I feel like I have walked those streets many times and walked in the footsteps of the Beats, including Kerouac. So yeah, in San Francisco, you're never that far from somebody telling you a story about the old days. So yeah, so I think for me, when I think about Kerouac, I think about San Francisco. So when when people call me to weigh in on things, I often know that I'm being called to weigh in on things from the angle of America's history, legacy, and present day misunderstanding of race and its legacy of racism. So I'm happy to sprinkle that sauce through whatever conversation I'm invited to. And I also think it's important to remind people that we're not just talking about the past, we're talking about the present and the future until you hear otherwise. And I think people invite me in because I can do it from a way that brings a little bit of light and levity to a subject that most people don't find a lot of light and levity into, while at the same time it's clear I understand the stakes. I hope Kerouac's legacy is that everybody has the potential to have a great American novel in them, or at least we all have access to telling our version of the great American story. It's not limited to any individual. And Kerouac's version is different than Malcolm X's version, which is different than Nina Simone's version, which is different than my version. So I hope the idea is that if you live your life and you get out there and you mix it up on these American streets, you have a story to tell. On the road? That's funny. What do you mean by on the road? like, as a comedian, when I think on the road doing stand-up comedy, but then I also know people say on the road just traveling a lot. So I think the fact that I'm on the road a lot means that I truly understand that there's not one version of America out there. Everybody sort of thinks that their version is the definitive version, that, there's 50 states, but probably like 1,000 Americas. And the more you travel, the more you see that like everybody is doing America slightly differently. And as long as you're supportive of your community and welcoming to outsiders and educating your kids and you feel safe, then whatever else you do is whatever you want to do. I don't get into the details. You can make your mac and cheese different than my mac and cheese. But as long as we're both supportive of our communities and trying to do good in the world, mission accomplished. I think it's great when documentary or filmmaking in general takes something that we think we understand and actively reinterprets it and digs it up and polishes it off and goes, what can we add to this now? And so I'm really happy for a film like this that can say, look, this is what we thought it was, but what does it mean in this new context of this current version of America? So I'm happy for, America's not that old, but it is old enough that you can dig up the bones and look at the things and go, what did this mean? I know what we thought it meant then, but what does it mean now?